Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for clicking on this episode of Crosstalks Movies Review. I'm John, and I'm going to be reviewing today How to Train Your Dragon live action. And my thoughts on it are this movie's great. How to Train Your Dragon is essentially a shot for shot remake of the original cartoon. So if you're going to see it, definitely don't go and watch the original cartoon first because you're just going to be comparing the whole time. I had never seen the animated movie, so I watched it a few months back. So I was actually pretty well removed from it to be in that mindset of comparing every little thing. If you do that, it's just going to kind of ruin your experience. This movie is a lot of fun, and it's a great family movie to take all the kids to. But there are some moments that have a little bit, they're a little like loud depending on which theater you see it in, whether it's like Dolby or IMAX or something like that. There are some loud moments, particularly with the dragons, that could be kind of scary, so kind of be on the lookout for that. What stood out to me most in this movie was the acting. I think everyone was actually very well cast and also well acted. The main character, the guy that plays Hiccup, I think he's going to go on to do great things. He was in The Black Phone. He'll be in The Black Phone 2 coming out this fall. And I'm just excited to see what they all do next. Seeing Nick Frost in there as like the kind of like mentor figure really actually made me excited to see what he's going to do with his Hagrid in the upcoming HBO Max Harry Potter series, because he's like the same guy. He's just his older guy teaching the new generation things and just being there as a friend more than as a critic. Gerard Butler returning, I think, was the great choice, and actually found out in some trivia that he originally wasn't going to, but because of the strikes, all of his projects got shifted around, so he was actually able to come back and do this. And what I liked a lot about him specifically coming back and doing it is that you're familiar with the voice, but also I think it's better in a way because you can actually tell through his facial emotes, actually see him as an actor do well and perform. And I like that a lot. He and Hiccup actually have these deep emotional moments sometimes that didn't quite come across in the animated film, and it could be because it's an older animated movie, but the way that the two interact with each other in person in live action, I think it just added that much more depth to the relationship of Hiccup and Stoic. I actually just watched How to Train Your Dragon 2 after seeing this live action one. And in the cartoon, there's some really deep emotional things that can happen. So I'm excited to see what those two actors are going to do with those characters in those moments in the second one, if they do a shot for shot remake of the second one as well. I do think this movie was about 10 to 15 minutes too long. It could have been around the same runtime as the animated film, but nevertheless, it was still a blast. As I sat there watching it, it kind of reminded me of when the first Narnia movie came out. I remember I saw it with my mom like 4 times in theaters, and we also saw it with other friends and family. But just the fact that there's this element to it that kept us coming back to see it, because it's just in this fantastical fantasy land, and we don't have much of that anymore. And I think that this will have that kind of same impact on kids, on families, on even just like preteens and their friends. Like, I think a lot of people are going to actually go back and rewatch this movie because it's just so much fun. How to Train Your Dragon is also the next live action remake after Lilo and Stitch this year. I don't think there are any other ones. And there's not another family movie coming out until next week with Elio, but even Elio hasn't had much of a marketing push. So I think now people are going to transition from seeing Lilo and Stitch like once or twice a week to now seeing How to Train Your Dragon once or twice a week. And I think it's going to do really well at the box office overall for like the whole year. And it'll definitely be like that summertime movie that families can go to and just have a good time with no matter how many times they see it. If you're bored or it's hot or your AC's out or something and you just want to go to the movies, How to Train Your Dragon is going to be there. And I think most people would choose that over any other movie that's coming out this summer as far as a family dynamic goes. My favorite moments in this movie was the flight scenes between Hiccup and Toothless. They reminded me in a way of like the first time that Jake Sully flew with the with his what was the a bird? I don't know what it is. I don't know what they're called, but an Avatar, his first like flight, and just that emotion and that captioness and that spectacle of awe was really there for this How to Train Your Dragon movie, and it did remind me a lot of those Avatar movies. And with the technology always upgrading, I can't wait to see what they're going to do in the second one, because just watching the cartoon, it elevates their flying so much, and I'm just really excited to see what they do next from the first animated movie. And you can tell he put his heart and soul into this movie to try to make everything land as well as it did in the original, while also elevating it on its aspect of emotion, on its scale, on its humor, on everything. And I think it lands really well. When I was at CinemaCon, actually, the first time I saw this, well, most of it, they had announced that they're already going to do How to Train Your Dragon 2 live action. So I'm curious as to whether or not they will do a shot for shot remake like I've been talking about for the second one, or if they're going to kind of digress and go into a different story and save that story for another time if they want to do more than the trilogy of the live action movies. Again, this is a great movie to see as a couple, with your friends, with your family, by yourself. Heck, I went by myself and I had a great time with it. It's definitely that 4-quadrant film that the summer needs because there isn't a lot of those coming out right now. The next 4-quadrant film maybe would be Superman, but even still, who knows? I definitely recommend seeing it on a screen like IMAX or 4D or Screen X because you could get that full scope and actually feel like you're in the movie, especially on Screen X. I think it'd be really cool with all the flight scenes and everything like that. 4D, same thing as well, when Hiccup and Toothless are flying or when there's a lot of action, just the movement of those seats, if it's done right, can be a lot of fun. And I just like IMAX. I like the crisper screen, I like the louder sound, I like the bigger screen. So I definitely recommend checking that out on any of those formats. But if you can't, it's okay. As long as you check it out in theaters, that's what's most important. As I said before, I highly recommend this movie, but definitely do not watch the original animated movie first because you're comparing. John Cena once said, comparison is the thief of joy. So if you see the original cartoon right before you go see this live action, you're going to be comparing the whole time, and it's going to rob you of your joy of what you could get with this live action movie, not watching the animated one first. I give this movie a solid 8.5 out of 10. Be sure to let me know your thoughts about this movie if you saw it. Be sure to let me know what you like and dislike in the comments. Please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you at the movies. Have a great rest of your day.